जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तविंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So today we will begin with the preface of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, written by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So last session we discussed about setting the scenes, and setting the scene was a background of how the discussion of Bhagavad Gita came between or happened between Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna. So that was a background which was given, that how the book begins with Dhritarashtra suddenly asking the question and why he's asking the question. So a brief introduction was given to the storyline of Mahabharata, leading to the discussion in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So in the preface, as we also discussed about it, that preface is introductory or introduction to a literary work by the author, and he talks about how the book came into being, and then the author also acknowledges the help he has received while writing this book. So in the preface we'll see those things today. And before writing the preface, Srila Prabhupada dedicates this book to Srila Baldeva Vidyabhushana. So Prabhupada is saying that who so nicely presented the Govinda Bhashya. Govinda Bhashya literally means Govindji. So in this picture, this is the picture of Sri Baladev Vidyabhushana. He is one of the very well-known acharya in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. And he was given a task to actually write a commentary on the Vedanta philosophy. So he prayed to Govindji. We can see behind Vidyabhushan is Govindji. So he prayed to Govindji, and then Govindji dictated him, and he wrote the commentary on the Vedanta philosophy. That's why he named the book, or whatever commentary he has written, is Govinda Bhashya, because Govindji dictated him. So this book, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srila Prabhupada actually dedicates it to Srila Baladev Vidyabhushana. So now we'll begin with the preface, what Srila Prabhupada has written in the preface. We'll try to go over it. So in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada talks about the history of the publication. So he wrote originally I wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is in the form in which it is presented now. So, which means that the first publication of this book was not in the form which we are reading now or today. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanations for most of the original verses of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So history, if you go back and you see that Srila Prabhupada, when he came to West, he was not very well known. So somehow or other, his disciples, Brahmananda Prabhu and Haigira Prabhu, they actually helped him to publish the first copy of Bhagavad Gita, and the publisher was Macmillan. But there was a condition to shorten the content of whatever Srila Prabhupada has written to about 400 pages, and Prabhupada was not happy about it. So then later on, when this book became actually famous, which was published by Macmillan, so then other people actually requested Srila Prabhupada to write the book in his original format. So then Srila Prabhupada, as he became a little famous, and then he got more and more disciples, so finally he opened his own press, which is originally called as ISKCON press, and currently it is known as Bhakti Vedanta Book Trust. So the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust or the ISKCON Press, they published the full version of Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that originally I wrote Bhagavad Gita in the form in which is presented now. Okay. So next he is discussing about how this book was written. So if we see, when we open Bhagavad Gita, you will see the Bhagavad Gita in this particular format. So what is this format and why is this book written in this format? That's what Srila Prabhupada is explaining. How this book was written. In all my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Upanishad, etc., the system is that I give the original verse. So here you see, so this is this verse particularly comes in chapter number 4, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glani Bhavati Bhavarata. So this verse is in the Sanskrit, is written in the Sanskrit literature, or it was actually spoken by Krishna in this format, which is Sanskrit. And because people have difficulty in reading Sanskrit and understanding Sanskrit, so then Prabhupada made it very easy for us. And that was one of his tasks, He presented the book in the Western world so that we can understand the concept which is given, or whatever Krishna wanted to explain as it is. So the system was that I give the original verse, its English transliteration. So first we will see the verse is originally in the Sanskrit, and then the English format of the verse. So here you see Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, which is actually the translation verse of the, not exactly translation, but word by word in English, so that it, if somebody wants to recite or understand in details, then they can, if they can't read Sanskrit, then they can read this part as a English. So word for a word Sanskrit English equivalent, which is this, and then translation and the purport. So then English transliteration, which means word by word. He is speaking Yada Yada means whenever and wherever. He means certainly, dharmasya, of religion. So this is English transliteration. And then he gives the translation of the verse. Translation in English based on the parampara or disciplic succession. So we'll go over this concept of parampara and disciplic succession a little later. But we get the idea that Prabhupada is giving this English meaning of what this verse in Sanskrit is. So this makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. So that was the whole purpose, to present the book in such a way that people can understand in a simple language. And then the purport. So purport means it is commentary. So what Krishna meant by when he is speaking this verse. And this commentary is also based on the parampara or disciplic succession. So whenever Krishna spoke, which is about 700 verses to Arjuna, these verses were then later commented by different acharyas. So when Srila Prabhupada wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, he referred many acharyas. When we go to chapter 1, we'll see how many different acharyas he is referring. And then he also gives whatever understanding he has, or whatever the contemporary world can understand. So he gives proper example for us to understand the verse correctly. Next, he explains the present form of the book. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand of Bhagavad Gita as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. So today we read it in its original form. The Macmillan version is just 400 verses. So devotees, when they gave the manuscript to Macmillan, they had to cut off parts of the purports, to make it or fit it into 400 odd pages. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. So this was the purpose, So we are lucky to read the original manuscript. About Krishna consciousness movement. So Krishna consciousness movement was started by Srila Prabhupada in the West, and it is known as ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And there was a purpose for starting this movement. So this is what Prabhupada is going to describe here. Our Krishna consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural and transcendental due to its being based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this whole movement is based on Bhagavad Gita as it is. And it is historically authorized, means it is not something which is coming out of Srila Prabhupada's mind, or concoction. He is following the instructions which were given by his predecessor teachers or acharyas. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially among the younger generation. It is becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and the grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life member of our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So this is what is the full form of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to see me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Why this is a statement given by Srila Prabhupada? Because at the time when Prabhupada came here, the hippie movement was going on. And when these hippies actually came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, the hippies turned into happies. And whatever illegal activities they were involved in, gradually, they left all this in association of a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. And their life entirely transformed. So some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that have started Krishna consciousness movement in America. So this was started in New York by Srila Prabhupada. Okay. So this is what is about the Krishna consciousness movement, and the next Prabhupada will give credits, because part of the preface, as we understood, is giving the acknowledgement. So Prabhupada acknowledges his spiritual master. But actually the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself. So this movement is started by Krishna himself. How? The message of Bhagavad Gita given by Krishna to Arjuna. That's the beginning point, some 5,000 years back. But originally also, before that, Krishna gave the message to the sun god. In 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that before giving this message, the same message was given to the sun god. And then over the period of time, the message was distorted. Hence, Krishna came back to re-establish the same knowledge, or give the same knowledge back. Since it was started a very long time ago, but it is coming down to the human society by disciplic succession. So this disciplic succession or parampara is the key factor of understanding. When we want to get any education, even material education, we go to the reputed colleges, where the colleges teach the same material which has been explored by the different scientists or whatever subject matter experts, and they present the same message in the college. And this is how the education goes on. So similarly, the spiritual education goes on in parampara. And there are 4 disciplics or recognized disciplic successions. So one of the disciplic succession is Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And we all follow, or ISKCON people follow, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So now Prabhupada is saying, if I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but due to my eternal spiritual master. So who is Prabhupada's spiritual master? His divine grace, Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivajakacharya 108 108 Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. So here is Bhakti Siddhanta Sarasvati Taku. He is a spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. He is his direct disciple. And being a disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Taku, the spiritual master gave instruction to Srila Prabhupada to spread this message of Krishna in the Western world. Basically to translate the message of Bhagavad Gita, which is originally in Sanskrit, and explain to the people over the world in English. So this is what Prabhupada has done. So this was the instruction, and Srila Prabhupada took the instruction to his heart, and then he translated these books into English, and he presented to the Western world. Personal credits. So he takes some personal credit, and this is very important to understand why he is giving this credit to himself. And we must also follow what Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain in the next paragraph. If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that, so this is the credit, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is. He has not presented the Bhagavad Gita with any alteration. So he is saying it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is without any adulteration. Meaning he is presenting the message which has been originally given by Krishna, and then from Krishna comes to the different gurus, and the gurus they give it to their disciples, and the disciple give their to grand disciples, and it follows that chain. So if you see I think in the next picture we will see, so this is the Guru Parampara. It is coming from Krishna, it's then Brahma, Narada, Bhakti Taku, and all this disciple succession, and finally it comes to us. But somewhere down the line, if the information is changed, then we don't receive the message of Krishna as it is. So it's very important for the acharyas in the disciplic succession to not change anything. I mean, based on the contemporary world, they may give some examples, but the principles of the message should not change. That's the whole idea. Examples may change based on time, place, and circumstances. So here Prabhupada is saying, before my presentation of Bhagavad Gita as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad Gita were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. So here Prabhupada's ambition is not personal. Prabhupada's ambition is, he wants to give us the message which was originally given by Krishna. So there is no interpretation in terms of giving the message. That's why it is called as Bhagavad Gita as it is. As it is means as it is given by Krishna. No alteration in the meaning, no alteration. So similarly, when we pass on this message, we do not change it. Otherwise, the efficacy of the medicine won't be there. So the message of Krishna is like a medicine for the age of Kali. In fact, it's medicine for all time, but especially in the age of Kali. And if someone changes those message, put their own thoughts, so Krishna meant this, Krishna meant that, then it is distorted. The meaning is distorted. So, but our attempt in presenting Bhagavad Gita as it is to present the mission of Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that any mundane speculators like the politician, philosophers, or scientists, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna. So, despite all their other knowledge, so they might have other knowledges, but they don't know about Krishna. So, how do we know about Krishna? We can only know about Krishna from a devotee of Krishna who is coming in parampara, who can understand the heart of Krishna, because Krishna has revealed the heart in disciplic succession. So when somebody presents the message in disciplic succession, then that message has efficacy. Otherwise, that message wouldn't work. When Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam manushkuru, Bhagavad Gita 18 chapter 65, etc. We, unlike so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. So some scholars have presented the message of this particular verse, which is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. This 1865 and 1866. These are two like Charam Sloka according to Ramanujacharya. Charam Sloka means that the topmost information of the mercy which Krishna gives to the devotees. And there the scholars have given the message or distorted the message by saying that Krishna is different from his inner spirit, and they have come up with all kind of mundane concoction or mental concoction. So if we listen to those, we will not get exactly what Krishna means to say in those verses. So that's why we need to hear Srimad Bhagavad. It is very, very important that we hear Srimad Bhagavad Gita in parampara. So here Prabhupada presents that Krishna, who is a speaker of Bhagavad Gita, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the coin which is termed by Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality. So he is a person like you and me, but he is a Supreme Person. He is completely transcendental. Right? So as we progress, in our discussion, we'll understand this particular term more and more and discuss this, because it's very important to understand this term. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are many other gods, but he is the Supreme God. Let's understand like this as of now. Krishna is absolute. There is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, and Krishna's pastime. So the absolute means relative. Let us understand what is the difference between absolute and relative. Relative means it is true sometimes and it is not true sometimes. But in case of Krishna, it's always true. So that is why it is Krishna is absolute. So the word, when we recite the word or speak Krishna, so Krishna is present right there in the name, like water and the actual water. So when let's say I'm thirsty and I'm saying water, 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 give me water, give me water. Or if I just chant water, 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 it is not equivalent to the actual water. It's not going to, my thirst will not be quenched by just chanting in fact, I'll become more thirsty. In Krishna's case, that is not the case. He is absolute. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna and in the system of parampara and disciplic successions. So this is what is Prabhupada recommending to us to become devotee. The absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand. And it is very difficult to understand that, like water, in our experience, the water and the word and the water, they are different. So how can we digest the fact that Krishna's name and Krishna are not different? It's very difficult. So in order to resolve this difficulty, that's why we go through the systematic study of Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures in disciplic succession. And when we hear about Krishna, when we hear his message, and our doubts, the cloud which has covered our understanding, the cloud of doubts that has covered our understanding gradually gets dissipated, and then Krishna reveals actually himself. This knowledge comes by revelation of Krishna. We can put our intelligence and we may try to understand Krishna through our intelligence, but that is not possible unless Krishna blesses us, unless Krishna reveals himself. We will not be able to understand him. So this particular slide is about what we have understood so far. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we can understand that concept of Supreme Personality of Godhead and understand Krishna only through the disciplic succession. Then Srila Prabhupada talks about the unauthorized commentaries. Generally, the so-called scholar, politician, philosophers and swamis without perfect knowledge of Krishna try to banish or kill Krishna when writing the commentary on Bhagavad Gita. What it means over here is they sidetrack Krishna. They give whatever Krishna is teaching, they give their own interpretation and their own understanding about what Krishna is saying. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad Gita is known as Mayavad Bhasya. And Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. So Lord Chaitanya is here when he was preaching to his disciple Rupa Goswami, So at that time, Lord Chaitanya is explaining this point, that this Mayavad, Bhasya actually is unauthorized. People are giving their own interpretation, and he's saying that Mayavad Bhasya Sunile Hoy Sarvanas. So this is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Mayavad Bhasya Sunile Hoy Sarvanas. Why Hoy Sarvanas? Because Krishna has given this message to us for a purpose of taking the soul from this world to the spiritual world. And when we hear this kind of interpretations, the whole purpose of Krishna's presentation is distorted. So that's why certainly bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance, and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead. So the purpose for which Krishna came was to take the soul which is stuck in this material world back to Godhead. But when we hear this kind of bhasya and we get attracted to it, then the whole mission of Krishna fails. So this is why Lord Chaitanya is saying that. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad Gita from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad Gita will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead. Our only purpose is to present this Bhagavad Gita as it is. So this is the caution to all of us readers of Bhagavad Gita, that don't read the commentaries of unauthorized preachers. Listen to somebody or read some commentary which is given by someone in any of the 4 disciplic succession. There are 4 disciplic succession. So you will see similarities in the purports which are given by the preachers in the disciplic succession or teachers of the disciplic succession. So then Prabhupada says, what is the Krishna's purpose? Because here is discussed about Krishna's purpose is to take the soul back to home, back to Godhead. So Lord Krishna purpose of presenting Bhagavad Gita, that is discussed next. In order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends in this planet once in a day of Brahma, or one in every, it's a huge number, years. So Krishna appears once in a day of Brahma from the spiritual world. So all these concepts, is kind of lofty at this point of time, but for sure we'll understand these concepts as we move forward. So the point is that Lord Krishna comes one day, in a one day of Brahma he comes once, and his purpose of coming once is to give this message of Bhagavad Gita and to take all the souls back to Godhead. So that is his original purpose. So that's why he comes and gives this message. This purpose is stated in Bhagavad Gita and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise there is no point in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita and its speaker Lord Krishna. And then Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad Gita without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. So one has to accept that Krishna is the authority and he has given this message for a purpose. And the purpose is very clear, that he wants to take the soul back to Godhead. So this is a purpose which is described in this particular paragraph of presenting Krishna's purpose of presenting this message. And then Prabhupada talks about the greatest offense. To interpret Bhagavad Gita, that is the greatest offense, without any reference to the will of Krishna or what Krishna wants, is the greatest offense. So when somebody interprets and gives their own meaning, that is the greatest offense. Because by reading those messages, actually the person who is interpreting, he is getting confused, and he will not be able to fulfill the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, as well as whoever is reading that, they will be confused and they will be stuck in the cycle of birth and death. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad Gita is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of human society in fulfilling the mission of life. So, if we interpret, we are doomed. Actually, we are doomed, and will make others doomed. But if we understand this message as what Arjuna understood, and how Arjuna realized that message, if we understood in that way, then it will be success at the end of the life. So again, Prabhupada brings the point that the purpose of Krishna consciousness movement, the Krishna consciousness movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. So when we study Bhagavad Gita, we will be able to realize all the meaning of what Srila Prabhupada is saying here. Right now, as is just beginning, it is very difficult to understand the meaning of what he is writing here, or for me also it is difficult to explain, because we have not gone through all the concepts which is given in the literature itself. But take for sure that Krishna consciousness movement is essential, and this is the only moment which will help us to attain highest perfection in our life. How this is so explained fully in Bhagavad Gita. So this is actually explained in Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, mundane wranglers have taken advantage of Bhagavad Gita to push forward their demoniac propensities and misled people regarding right understanding of this simple principle of life. So people, use the principles of Bhagavad Gita. When we go to the 18th chapter and complete this, we'll understand that whatever philosophy, we hear around, it's all there in Bhagavad Gita. In fact, in the 7th chapter, 2nd verse, Krishna is telling Arjuna that after knowing all these things, there is nothing more to be known. So all the philosophies which people are giving is actually there in Bhagavad Gita. Sambandha Gyan. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entity. So this is what Krishna establishes in Bhagavad Gita. Sambandha. Sambandha means relation. Jnana means knowledge. So Krishna gives the knowledge about his relationship with us as a living entity. We are soul, and we are living entities stuck in this material world, and we have a relationship with it. And right now that relationship is broken. So when we understand about Krishna's position, we understand our position. This is the knowledge about the Sambandha Gyan. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that the living entity is eternally servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve the illusions in different varieties of the 3 modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. So just to give a brief understanding about what has been taught or spoken here is, we are living entities. Actually, we are stuck in this material world of cycle of birth and death. We are going through this, all of us are going through the cycle of birth and death. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. Birth, death, old age and disease. And then we complete one life, then we move to the next life. And then we complete that life and then move to the next life, in the next body basically. So this is perpetually going on. And then we are serving eternally serving the Maya or the things in the material world. But we have a relationship with Krishna, and somebody who is interested in re-establishing the relationship, for them this message was spoken. So this knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it from his own interest. So this is our only interest. This should be our only interest in life, that we hear this message thoroughly with deep understanding. Then we understand Krishna's position, we understand our position, and then we prepare to go back to Godhead instead of getting stuck in the cycle of birth and death. So how they are stuck, this is how Prabhupada is explaining, how people are bewildered. People in general, especially in the age of Kali, so current age is the age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts every man will be happy. So all of us have plans to stay happy, or wants to be happy and stay happy in this world, and we make continuous plans, and all of our plans are, the only purpose is to make us happy. But we see that we are again and again encountering the unhappiness in life. In fact, there are very few moments of happiness, and most of the times we are suffering. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent law of the material nature. So Maya is, or material nature is actually energy of Krishna, which is controlling us. So this, most of us who have not studied the scriptures properly don't have the understanding about how we are being controlled in this material nature, by the material nature. A living entity is happily the part and parcel. This is our position actually. A living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus have his natural function to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal senses, sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. So we are trying to be happy in this world by engaging in different kind of sense gratification. Sense gratification means we are trying to enjoy through our senses or using our senses, and it is never be possible. That is Krishna's statement, because this world is declared by Krishna as Dukhalayam. Dukhalayam means a place of misery. So we'll never ever actually we become happy. We may become happy for some time, but right on the corner the next suffering is there. Actually, this is by design, it is like that, so that people try to be happy here for some time, and then once they are tired, they want to go back. So then at that point of time when they want to go back, they come to spirituality and try to understand what's going on actually. So the solution, Prabhupada says, instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. This is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this and he demands it. So Krishna, you will see in Bhagavad Gita, is demanding it actually. Yeah. So this is our actual solution of solving the problems in the material world. And when we serve the Lord, actually the Lord is happy and we are happy. We are actually happier in that state. Right? So this is the purpose of Krishna, and the Krishna consciousness movement is fulfilling the purpose of Krishna. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement. So what was the central point? The central point is this. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. So when we satisfy the senses of the Lord, we are actually also satisfied. And that is the highest perfection of the life or living entity or soul. And Prabhupada says one has to understand this central point of Bhagavad Gita. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita. under the direct guidance of the Lord. So this is what is the ISKCON doing, ISKCON has understood the purpose of Krishna, the heart of Krishna, and they are acting on behalf of Krishna, to help the living entities to fulfill the purpose of Krishna. So whenever we get opportunity, we visit the center and then we go and understand, read Bhagavad Gita, we hear classes, engage in some service. So that way, ISKCON provides us the facilities to connect us with Krishna, which is currently broken. We hope, therefore, that the people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And even if one man becomes pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. So Prabhupada says that, we will consider ourselves success. Even a single person becomes this success, is become successful by re-establishing his relation with Krishna. That is Prabhupada's success. Right. So with, I think, this particular slide gives information of what we have discussed here. And then at the end of the preface, Srila Prabhupada puts his wonderful signature, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So this was written on 12th May 1971 at Sydney, Australia. So with this, we have completed our preface, and the next class we will begin with the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Haribo.